Hello, I am FisiFan91 and welcome to this Q&A Answers video. While talking, I'll be showing you some footage from an ARL social race around India from a few days ago, as I thought that would be more interesting for you to watch than watching my face for 10 minutes. This was my first ever race around India, by the way, so don't expect brilliant driving. But anyway, a while ago I asked my viewers to send me some questions they wanted me to answer in a future video. So here we go, starting off with some basics first. I am from Norway, I am a human, and I like to play racing games, so there you have that. So, moving on to your questions. The Ghost Shadow 95 asks, are you a Fisichella fan? And, well, I thought that would be pretty obvious, but you are correct. I am indeed a big fan of the legend that is Giancarlo Fisichella. Living to Die 3 asks, why did you join ARL? I actually consider myself very lucky to have found ARL, because back in the day I just randomly happened to come across a link to the site. But why did I join? Well, this was back in April of 2010, while I was eagerly awaiting the release of F1 2010. And I was very interested in this idea of racing in leagues on the game, which is what ARL presented to me. And organized clean racing was quite new to me at the time, but I knew right away that that was how I wanted to race, and before I knew it, I was part of the team running the leagues. So there you go. FAZ415 asks, are you the owner of ARL and did you make the ARL rules? Well, no, I'm not the owner of ARL. There is a guy called Darren, but I have been an admin on the site since mid-2010, so at least that's something. As for the ARL rules, I did indeed write up the original rules for the F1 leagues, so although certain things have been changed a bit since then, I would like to answer yes to that question. Next up we have Alex Safro asking me, what wheel do I use? And yeah, I'm just gonna pause the race for a second as we head to the finish line here. And here is my wheel. It's a Fanatec CSR Elite wheel, which is basically one of the top Fanatec models and the best wheel you will currently get that is compatible with the Xbox, which is why what I play on. So yeah, it's really an incredible wheel to use, but obviously very expensive as well. Alex also asks, what is my most and least favorite part of F1 2012? And I guess my least favorite part must probably be the penalty system, which is bad in that it lets drivers get away with way too much corner cutting and also often dishes out penalties to the wrong person after a collision. It's hard to point out one thing that would be my favorite about the game, but in general, my favorite part would be when I have a bug-free online race against other clean drivers of similar pace, because that's when the racing itself can be very good fun. Luthinio96 asks me, what is my favorite F1 game? And, you know, I remember the first F1 game I played on the Nintendo 64 back in the day, which was F1 World Grand Prix or something, which I really loved, but obviously I was way too young back then to actually play the game properly. So in terms of games I have actually raced properly on, which is pretty much only the Codemasters games when it comes to F1, so it would have to be F1 2012 so far. Next question is from Den Robin Avianders or something. How did you get into Formula 1? That is probably thanks to the aforementioned F1 World Grand Prix game, which I got as a Christmas present back in 1998. I have always liked cars, but that game was how I learned about F1 for the first time, and after that I started watching it on TV and yeah, became a fan. Sask2 asks, what is your favorite track? And I've always been a fan of driving the Australian Grand Prix track Albert Park, so I'm gonna say that. ARL Noble asks, since you've been racing online, which race has been your most favorite to be a part of? That's a real hard question, as I've had so many great races over the years, but if I'm gonna have to choose one that stands out a bit more than others, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to say the Belgian Grand Prix from Season 1 of the Legends Championship. That was on F1 2010, and back when the Legends League was part of the ARL. And I started off by taking the lead comfortably before screwing up the strategy and dropping back to the midfield to then work my way back to the front again, and only just missing out on the win in the end. But I think the main reason it stands out is because that was probably the first really awesome race that I had on the F1 game. Moving on to another tough question from XMattyG. What has been your top 3 most memorable moments in terms of racing? I've had a lot of good battles and moments throughout my races, which I've really enjoyed, but looking a bit bigger than that, the Monaco Grand Prix in Season 1 of the ARL Legends Championship, when I took pole and went on to lead for 78 long laps without touching the barriers a single time. That was a good moment. And another good one was when I won the Season 2 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix in Faraday League 1. It was the final race of the season, and it had been a frustrating season for me without winning a single race, so I decided to turn on traction control and put on a proper setup for the first time in order to match what my competitors had been doing all season. And with that I went on to dominate the race and get my long-awaited win. And also in Season 3, the ARL F1 League, getting my first podium of the season in Germany in my last competitive race before leaving for military service. That was a nice little achievement for me. So, Gonzalo Flash asks me, how is he driving so smooth yet quick at the same time? I don't know really. I mean, I'm not among the very quickest drivers on this game, I'm well aware of that, but I think my best trait is being able to drive smoothly and consistently over time. But it's hard for me to point out in exactly what ways my driving is better or worse than others, but for me, being smooth is an important factor of being quick. Mine Tunes asks, how long did it take you to learn to play F1 as well as you do now? And to be honest, mate, I think it's been a gradual process ever since I started playing F1 2010. Obviously, being in the army for a whole year without racing much was a bit of a setback, but I feel like I'm gradually getting better all the time, and I know I can still improve quite a lot. Project Cody's, also known as ACR Raven, asks, do you still hate me for taking the championship from you in Season 1? Let's just say, mate, that I'm still plotting my evil revenge. Tiamat Marduk asks, is there anyone that you look up to or aspire to be like in the F1 community? I'm not going to mention any names, but there are some really good commentators in the F1 community, and I wouldn't mind having their talking skills. But in terms of actual racing, the person I definitely look up to the most would be Noble2909. In addition to being a proper clean and good racer, he also has unbelievable pace and skill behind the wheel. And I'm going to say that he's probably the best driver on the whole game, regardless of platform. So well done, Noble, you have my approval of awesomeness. So moving on now to the slightly less F1 related questions. Starting off with G. Kimbo. How many people did you shoot while on national duty? Yeah, well, obviously I wasn't part of any actual shootings, but if you count paper figures, I must have killed at least 1,000. By the way, if anyone's interested to read about my army experiences, I will put a link to my write-up about it in the description below. Right, what is your record at push-ups? 34. Do you take drugs? If I did, they wouldn't have let me into the army, so no. How many coaches are there in your house? 1. Can you do an American or British or Australian accent? Yes, dear, I can. What is your favorite type of pancake? The big delicious ones that my dad makes. What's your favorite biscuit? This one right here. So with those slightly odd questions, that's it for me for now. I hope you enjoyed listening to me babbling on, and if I didn't answer your question, I am terribly sorry. But yeah, I will see you later for some more clean racing action. Why are you such a boss?